Do you ever take your kids to the grocery store with you? Are they running up and down the aisles, grabbing things off the shelves, throwing it into the cart, convincing you that they must have that item? Well, welcome to Kyle's Metaphorical Grocery Store. Hit that like button because I've got 3 running backs I'm trying to convince my parents I want to throw in the shopping cart for 2019, and we might be doing another giveaway. Hey, what's up, Headliner Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Kyle coming to you from the Draft.com studios. And as you heard in the opening already, we've got 3 must-have running backs we're going to discuss right now for the 2019 season. But before we jump into that information, let's talk about what we need from you, Headliner Nation. I already mentioned it. We've got another giveaway going on right now. We're going to give away some more draft guides, but more importantly, we might be giving away another signed jersey very soon. And this is what I convinced Jake of. If we can get 1,000 likes on this video, 1,000 likes on this video, not only am I going to pick 3 people who comment on the video to give a draft guide to, but we're going to announce our next signed jersey giveaway very soon. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss this one. So again, hit that like button. Comment below. Doesn't matter what the comment is. Doesn't matter. It can be about the video. You can just tell me that I have really nice hair if you want to. Any way it goes, 3 people who comment on this video, if we get over 1,000 likes, we're going to give away 3 draft guides, and we're going to announce our next signed jersey giveaway sometime this week. So now that Headliner Nation, I've laid down that challenge for you. Let's jump into the information, and let me tell you about the 3 running backs that we need to own in 2019. All right, Headliner Nation, you see the first name on the right-hand side there. Nick Chubb is going to be my first must-have running back for 2019. I've got a few reasons I'm going to tell you here in just a moment. However, the main reason that Nick Chubb is basically being looked down on right now is because of the Kareem Hunt signing. And I get it. I know that people are worried about it, but I'm going to convince you right now that we probably don't need to be nearly as worried as we think we do. Let's jump into Nick Chubb. Right now, his ADP puts him at 20.7. He's the 13th running back off draft boards right now, but he was really, really good, obviously, as we know, in 2018. But how good was he? 5.1 yards per carry is the 3rd most among running backs with at least 150 targets. And another telling stat is he was utilized on 56% of the snaps that he played, meaning on 56% of the times that he was on the field, he touched the ball or he was targeted. So over the half of the time that he was on the field, he was being implemented into the play call in some way, shape, or form. But Nick Chubb isn't just one of your big running backs that's going to knock people over, bowl people over. He's got the breakaway speed as well. 11 runs of 20-plus yards last season. That tied him for the 2nd most of any running back in the league. Don't forget as well, Nick Chubb wasn't the starter for the first several games of the year either. So he didn't get nearly as much workload as Carlos Hyde did to begin the year, and he still ended up with these types of numbers. But here's one of the most telling ones, and here's one of the reasons why we need to consider Nick Chubb in every draft we do this year. Last year, he faced stacked boxes 34.38% of the time. A stacked box is when 8-plus defenders are playing in the box at once. That was the 4th most, or the 4th highest percentage of any running back in the NFL. There is no way teams are going to be able to stack boxes in 2019 against the Cleveland Browns with the receiving weapons that they have. You're not going to be able to stack the box when you've got guys that can stretch the field like an Antonio Callaway or like an Odell Beckham Jr. Heck, Jarvis Landry and David Njoku both can stretch the field in some way, shape, or form as well. They have too many receiving options on that team to put 8 defenders in the box on a consistent basis. Maybe every once in a while you're going to see it, but it's not going to happen nearly as much as we saw it happen last year. One of the issues last year, too, is when you saw Nick Chubb on the field, more than likely he was going to run the football. He didn't have nearly as many receptions, and when Duke Johnson was on the field, that is when you thought, hey, this is when we're going to see a passing play to the running back here. However, you're still going to have Duke Johnson there, but Nick Chubb is going to be the guy this year, at least for the first several weeks of the season. Kareem Hunt's going to come back at some point, but he's not going to make the impact that I think a lot of fantasy owners believe he will in 2019. Now, this is coming from a guy that was a Kareem Hunt truther coming out of college. This was a guy that I said coming out of Toledo could very well take the job away from Spencer Ware in Kansas City, and it ended up happening. Now, was it because of an injury? Yes. But Kareem Hunt ran with the job, and he did not give it up, and he didn't give it up last year until obviously he got himself into trouble. He's with the Cleveland Browns now, and he's going to be back later in the season, but Nick Chubb is going to be the guy at the beginning of the year. He's going to get a majority of the workload. Even though he wasn't really called upon to be a pass-catching back while he was at Georgia, he still possesses pretty good hands. I mean, he can make plays in the passing game if he needs to. So this year, they're not going to run him off the field and run Duke Johnson on the field every time they want to run a passing play. It's not going to happen. When Kareem Hunt comes back, he's going to make an impact. He's going to be on the field in certain times. He's going to be on the field in certain packages. However, it's going to take him a couple of weeks to get back. He's going to need to get implemented in the system. He's going to have to be back in football shape, meaning playing in games on a basis of every week and not just practicing or running drills or whatever it may be. So it's just not going to happen overnight. So Nick Chubb, a guy that you can get really technically in the second roundish. Right now, I have seen him fall to the third round in some drafts as well, very early third round. But this is a guy that if you go wide receiver in the first round, one of the top wide receivers, I am okay going with Nick Chubb as my running back one in the second round. I mean, this is a guy, again, all these running backs are at different price points as well, and they're must-haves for their ADP. Before the Kareem Hunt signing, Nick Chubb was a first-round running back. He was going anywhere from that 10 to 12 spot. And then Kareem Hunt signs, and now he's not going to go that high anymore based on current ADP. But I'm telling you, if you take him in the second round, you're getting a top 12 talent for 2019. All right, my next must-have running back now is Derrick Henry, and I've wrote this in an article already. It's in the draft profile, but I've said it over and over and over again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So are you someone that feels like you're going to get shamed again by Derrick Henry? Let me convince you otherwise right now. Derrick Henry is a guy that I absolutely want to have on as many of my fantasy football teams in 2019 as possible. I know he burned a lot of people after that great run to the end of the 2017 season. He comes back last year and he's just not what we thought he was. However, maybe he was a little bit better than we thought he was at the beginning of the season. Derrick Henry's ADP right now puts him at 33.8. You can get him as the 19th running back off of the board. He had 12 rushing touchdowns. That was tied for the third most of any running back in the NFL. And yes, a lot of them came at the very end of the season. He had a great final 4 games to end 2018. But he was more efficient much longer than what we're giving him credit for. And it really changed last year after their Week 8 bye. After their Week 8 bye, you saw a dedication from the Tennessee Titans to rely on the run game and use Derrick Henry more often. The volume crept up a little bit as they went on. It wasn't immediate, and that's why the final 4 games stick out more than all the games after the Week 8 bye. But after the Week 8 bye, 786 yards on 131 attempts. That gave him a 6 yards per carry average. But we had that big game against Jacksonville, right? And that's one of those. Let's remove that Week 13 game against Jacksonville. Even without that huge performance, he still had 548 yards on 114 attempts after the Week 8 bye for a 4.8 yards per carry. Now, Derrick Henry is a guy that is going to run people over. And if you've heard me talk about my desire to get running backs like that, then these are some stats that I definitely want to share with you. He was second in the NFL in yards after contact per attempt. That was 4.21 yards. He was tied for first in tackles avoided with 45. He was fifth on tackles avoided per attempt with 0.21 tackles avoided per attempt. And he was third in the NFL in fantasy points per snap. So this was a guy that, again, we look at Derrick Henry and we say, yeah, he had a big end to the season. I'm not going to get tricked by that again. But he was better much longer than we give him credit for. He just didn't get all of the volume that he got. And that after the Week 8 bye, those few games before we got to the final 4 games, he didn't get the volume. But they were working him up. But that, along with all of the offseason talk, out of the front office, out of the owner's box, out of their head coach, Derrick Henry is a guy that the Tennessee Titans are going to ride in 2019. They do not want Marcus Mariota to be the guy that goes out there and has to win football games, okay? Nobody wants that. The Tennessee Titans don't want that. I think Marcus Mariota is a decent NFL quarterback. I think he can be good, but he's not the guy that's going to go out and win football games like an Aaron Rodgers might or a Patrick Mahomes might or whoever else. He's not that type of talent. So they're going to lean on the run game this year, and they're going to win football games with the run game and their superior defense that they have. They've got a top 5 defense this year, a very, very good defense. So that is how they are going to win football games in 2019. And I know you're scared of Derrick Henry right now because of what we've seen happen before. But based on all that information I just shared with you, he was a lot better for a longer period of time than we're getting him credit for. And he's the type of runner that if we give him all of that volume that he got towards the end of the season on a year-long basis, he's going to create yards after contact. He's not going to go down easy. He's going to be a guy that's going to fight and fight and fight and fight for every single yard. And I want guys like that on my football team. I want guys that are going to get me that little bit extra. Also included, those 12 rushing touchdowns. There's no reason he can't get double-digit rushing touchdowns again. Don't worry about Deion Lewis. Don't worry about Derrick Henry. He's a guy that we need to be drafting in 2019 as well. All right, Headliner Nation, my last one for you here, Lamar Miller. Now, let me tell you about Lamar Miller. This one might surprise some of you that I'm saying that he is a must-have. But again, we're talking about must-have running backs at their given price point, okay? Yes, we're not saying that you need to draft names. We're saying that you draft players at a given price point, okay? We want that value. The same way that I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to draft someone. I'm going to sit here and tell you not to draft value because someone might be overvalued. So if these running backs, they're all in a good value point right now, you can get them at a good price point, and that's why they're must-have running backs for me. So let's talk about Lamar Miller a little bit now. Lamar Miller, his ADP is 61.9, so he is the running back 28 off of the board. He's been fairly consistent for quite some time now. Since 2014, he's had at least 800 rushing yards a season, and he's had at least 30 receptions a season since 2014. Since 2014, his average PPR finish has been running back 14. Now, he seems like he's been in the league for a long time, but he's still only 28 years old. And last year, he ran for 4.6 yards per carry behind a very, very bad offensive line. They've worked on the offensive line a little bit now. If he can do that behind an offensive line that was that bad last year, there's no reason that he can't do it again this year, especially since they've tried to upgrade that a little bit. As I mentioned with Nick Chubb, face stack boxes 23.33% of the time. So not nearly as much as Nick Chubb, but still a fairly high amount, which might be odd considering Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. But keep in mind, Will Fuller was hurt last year. Kiki QT could barely stay on the field. Demaryius Thomas, when they traded for him, he ended up getting hurt, but he was a shell of his former self while he was on the field. And they didn't really have a tight end that made any kind of an impact either. So did they have weapons? Yes, but they all weren't healthy at all the same time last year. That's probably why Houston had the 5th most rushing attempts of anybody in 2018, 468 rushing attempts. He is a free agent after 2018, so that basically is going to give the Houston Texans one more year to get D'Onta Foreman ready. And I think D'Onta Foreman can be a guy that can step in and be an average or above average NFL running back. I think he has talent. But again, the Achilles injury that he's coming off of, how good will he actually be? We don't know that. But this gives them basically another year to run Lamar Miller, make him the running back one, beat him up a little bit if they need to, because at the end of the day, he's going to be gone after the season anyway. So if he's gone after the season, use him up right now, keep Foreman healthy, and incorporate him into the running game a little bit at a time, but make Lamar Miller your focal point. Now, like I've already mentioned, make sure that you understand what I am saying here. These are must-have running backs at their current ADP. If you're buying Lamar Miller to be your running back one, he's not a must-have as your running back one, but he's a must-have as your running back 3, and that's what you could have here in this draft. Let's say you decide that you draft towards the end of the first round, and you take Devontae Adams. Maybe you take a Julio Jones, somewhere like that towards the end of the first round. Now wrap it into the second round, you're going to take Nick Chubb. Wrap it into the third round, you take Derrick Henry. So now you have an Adams and a Julio potentially with Chubb and Henry. And then after that, over the next couple of rounds, you're filling in your wide receivers and tight ends. And then you're taking Lamar Miller as your running back 3 later on. So now you have Chubb, Henry, and Miller, all of them at very good price points, all of them that have statistics that point out the potential to be just as good, if not better, in 2019. And you have a solid group of people around them. At the top of the first inning, we want to take those top running backs, absolutely 100%. But when you get into the middle or late portion of the first round and you start seeing those running back or those wide receivers staring you in the eye, it's hard not to jump on those guys at that point in time. And me being an early running back guy, I like to have my running backs as early as possible. So to start off with an Adams or a Julio and then go Chubb and Henry after that, and then in the fourth round, maybe go with a Brandon Cooks. A Stephon Diggs. I've seen those guys falling into the fourth round of drafts right now. And Amari Cooper is a late third round pick right now. There's wide receivers that you could pair as your wide receiver 2 in that fourth round. And then again, you go with Lamar Miller in that 5th or 6th round. So you've built up your offense in these first few rounds, and now you have a team that is 100% going to compete for a championship when you step on the field in 2019. Before we go ahead and jump out of this video, number one, I hope you love the information. This was a deep diving video. These are the types of videos that we love to do on this channel. We keep it short and sweet. However, we give you some hard hitting, some in-depth facts. I'm not going to sit here and just say, draft this guy or don't draft this guy because my gut tells me. Now, maybe that sometimes plays a role in it, but I'm going to back it up with facts and statistics as well, and that's what we've done here in this video, and we do on a lot of our videos here on the Fantasy Headliners. But don't forget, I want to give away 3 draft guides. Make sure you hit that like button. When this hits 1,000 likes, we're going to pick 3 people who comment in the comment section to win a free draft guide for 2019. If this gets to 1,000 likes, we're also going to announce our next signed jersey giveaway. So, Headliner Nation, do your thing, go to work, hit the like button. More importantly, though, hit that subscribe button if you've not become a part of Headliner Nation yet, and let me know in the comments below if you do so I can personally welcome you. It's been real, Headliner Nation. Thanks so much again for tuning into this episode, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Have a good one, everyone.